Hey guys, welcome to another video here. I'm going to show you how to do some tricks in Photoshop today. We're going to talk about creating a tileable pattern, turning that pattern into a normal map, converting it into a cavity or a curvature map, and then how to record this as an action so that we can do this within Photoshop without any excess plugins or anything like that. And so without too much yak in here, let's get into talking about tileable patterns, right? And the reason I'm going to cover this at the beginning of this video is because it's just so much faster than it used to be. I'm quite amazed, honestly. What we used to have to do is create a square texture, something like a 512 by 512, and then we would go up to filter, we'd say other, and we do an offset, right? And I know that it was a 512 by 512, so if I do an offset of 256 by 256, I know that it's going to slide the edge of that texture to the middle, right? So, and then we'd say okay, and then we'd painstakingly kind of paint out the middle of it, like something like that. And then we try to cover up those seams, boring, and depending on the complexity of your texture, this could take a while. And then as you end up touching the edge again, you would have to offset yet again. So you offset again, and then you go back here and maybe clean up that seam and fix that one a little bit. And then maybe offset again just to triple check. And it seems, oh, there's, again, we got this seam right here. Maybe we want to do something like that with it. So too slow, takes a while to sit here and bounce back and forth like this and create a seamless texture. This was shown to me rather recently. I think it's a new, I'd say a new feature within the past year, and I had no idea this thing existed. But if you go up to View, Pattern Preview, it's going to tell you that this works best with smart objects. You just say sure, thank you, don't care, and it's going to expand and preview that pattern throughout your whole document. Like it's like an infinite canvas of your pattern. And why this is just absolutely fantastic is that as I clear this canvas, right, I could go in here, let's pick a brush, something like that, and you see how I can just, that's awesome, right? Oh my goodness, so much time painting tiling textures in the past. Oh, now it does it for me now. No offsetting or anything like that. How fantastic is that? And so bear with me while I kind of create sort of an interesting looking pattern. And we'll use this pattern to take through the rest. And so I'm going to zoom out, kind of check the tiling. It seems a little bit, maybe could kind of try and smooth out some of that tiling that I'm seeing. There we go. Alright, give it those little dark marks like there. Alright, yeah, I like that. So, this will be our tiling texture that we use to create a normal map with. And so, jumping into the next part of the tutorial, sort of the next tip, I wanted to show you guys how to create a normal map by hand, because it just kind of blows my mind. Many kids these days are lost when it comes to creating normal maps. It's like if they don't have a special software or pay for some kind of special software, they don't know what to do, right? They have to export their things out, and who knows, right? There's all kinds of ways to create normal maps, but point being is we want to do it right in Photoshop. And so let's go ahead and name this. We'll call this maybe like tiling or something like chips. Call it paint chips, maybe. Paint chips _ tileable. and I'm going to put that in a group, and I'm going to call this group backup because I might blow something up. Say backup, and I'm going to create a couple of duplicates, and then I'm going to pull one out of that folder, and that's what we're going to work with. I'm going to turn the backups off. And let's go ahead and go up to view and turn off pattern preview. Before I get too far ahead of myself, I also want to make this into a pattern. So let's say define pattern and name it again. We'll say paint chips underscore tileable, or something like Tileable 512. And now when I go down to pattern adjustment, say pattern, down at the bottom there's our new pattern that we can tile, right? Beautiful tool. Oops, let's take it down to 25. So quick pattern. Now let's convert this into a normal map. First things first, I want to duplicate this a couple of times, and we're going to name these, if you know anything about normal maps, we're going to name these the different channels of a normal map. So I have a hotkey set up for me to rename things. You can do that by double clicking on a layer. I do it by hitting Control R on my keyboard, and we're going to say paint chips, or maybe we'll just call this X for the X channel, right? Like I said, if you know anything about normal maps, the X channel is the red channel. It's your left to right information. We're going to say yes on that. We're going to go up to our paint chips duplicate here and say Control R, rename this one. We'll just name it Y. And hit enter, and that's your green channel, your up and down information in your normal map. And so we're gonna run a filter on a couple of these layers, and then we're gonna combine this layer together. And so I'm gonna start with that first one. I'll hide the Y channel just so you can kind of see what's going on here. And on that X channel, make sure you have it selected. We're gonna go filter, stylize, emboss. And because it's our X channel, we have to make sure that this angle is set to 0. Okay, and I'm going to do a really tight normal map, so I'm going to set the height to 1, and I'm going to say OK. Click. And then we just embossed that texture. So I'm going to turn on my Y channel. Let's go up, select that one, and we're going to go filter, and don't run it from the top here. You have to go back down to stylize, emboss, and we're going to run this one on an angle of 90 with the same height and same amount. We're going to say OK, and that gave us our vertical channel for our normal map. So I'm going to create a dummy layer here. So I'm going to say new layer. Let's rename it. We can call it dummy underscore normal. I might fill it with some just kind of default information, fill it with black. And we're going to do some copying into the channels here, right? So we were saying that the X is our red channel, so I'm going to go down here, say Control A, Control C. Go to my red channel, except, see, I didn't select the right layer. I'm visiting the red channel of my X layer. So leave out of that, go to RGB. Select this dummy layer here, and we'll turn it on. And I'm going to go down to my red channel and hit paste. And I just pasted that X layer into my red channel, right? So I'm going to go back up out of the red channel. Let me turn that off so you can see what I'm doing again. I'm going to go down to my Y channel, Control A to select the whole canvas. Let's turn that Y layer on, by the way. So Control A, Control C, select all, copy. We're going to go dummy normal, turn that back on, select our green channel, and paste. And then we're going to go back up out to our RGB, and there is our normal map for the most part. There's something that we need to tweak here. and we can actually turn, let's go down to that blue channel. If we were to fill this blue channel with a solid white value, that for the most part is our blue channel, except there is something that we need to change. What we should do is go into the red channel here, and I'm going to do a Control L for levels, and I'm going to move the center gray value here of that red channel over to that peak here. We're going to do it a negative, or not negative, I'm sorry, we're going to turn this gray slider to a 1.28 1.28. And then we're going to hit OK. Then I'm going to go to my green channel, and we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to hit Control L, and we're going to move this gray peak over 1.28 and say OK. Now if we turn these others off, we know that if we need to overlay a normal map, we can double click on that layer and turn off the blue channel. Or you could have, when you created this, just left that blue channel as black. But we double click the layer, turn off that blue channel, and I'm going to fill a layer underneath with kind of our default flat normal map color. It's going to be 128, 128, 255. We're going to fill. And then if we go up to that dummy layer and set it to overlay, that's how we overlay our normal maps. So there's your hand-created normal map. Okay. Now I'll end up running through this again, but first what I want to do is I want to go ahead and let's convert this to a cavity. So I duplicated this mesh. I'm gonna go back into that duplicate, turn on the blue channel, turn off overlay, put it back on normal, and on this cavity we're going to run an emboss on it, right? And so we almost have to sort of deconstruct the normal map that we just built. And so I would go into the red channel, and if we just grab that red channel and drag it onto, oh, not a new alpha layer, but a new channel in your layers down here. Okay. Or we can just Control A copy, create a new layer here and paste. And so we copied that red channel out of the normal map here, and we're going to name this, we'll call it Y, or I'm sorry, we'll call it R this time for red. And I'm going to go turn that off. We're going to go back to our clone here, go to the green channel. We're going to go Control A, Control C, go down to my layer panel, create a new layer, paste. We're going to rename this, call it Y, or G for green. And then we're going to emboss these. So we're going to go, we'll start with our red channel. So we'll go Filter, Stylize Emboss. And because it's the red channel, we want to set this to 0. Double check. It's been a moment. Okay, those are going in, which that's technically not right. So this red channel, we actually need to do a reverse angle on that emboss. So I'm going to go Filter, Stylize, Emboss, and we're going to turn this to a negative, or not negative, but a 180, and hit OK. Now that gave us our left and right information. We'll hide that, turn on our green channel, or I mean select our green channel layer here. And we're going to go Filter, Stylize, Emboss. And we're going to change this angle to -90. And then we're going to hit OK. And so what we have is two sets of information here. We have our left and right for our curvature map, and then we have our up and down for our curvature map. And we just want to combine these. So we can take that top red layer here, it's set to overlay, and there's our curvature. You could Control A, Control Shift C, which is copy merge, and then paste, and now we got this kind of merged into its own layer here. We call this cavity or curvature. So the last thing I want to show you how to do is to take this map, or to take this knowledge that you have here and create an action out of it, so that you don't have to keep coming back to this video every time, right? And so let's just go ahead and delete all these, right? We're going to do it again. So paint chips tileable, right? We want to make an action out of this, and maybe you've never made an action before. I'm going to clear out sort of my previous version. I did a video and messed it up. So we're going to go demo actions. You have to create a folder within here, so you'd create a new folder. I call mine demo actions, and then within that folder here we're going to say new action. And if you don't have this window, it's under Windows menu. You can turn on actions right there and then create that new action button, and we're going to name this action. We call it create _ normal. And anything that we do from here forward is going to be recorded into this action. And so we're kind of recording a macro or steps into this button that we can play again later. There are certain things that don't get recorded, like drag and dropping layers doesn't get recorded. Changing layer states does get recorded. So if I set opacity, change the blending mode, that kind of stuff will record. But just kind of follow my lead, and we're going to repeat what we just did, except we're going to do it a lot more through hotkeys, and I'll call these out as I say them. It just makes it a more direct thing for the action to understand. It kind of is a good habit when you're building actions to not use the mouse, because not everything gets recorded. So let's get into this, right? So I'm going to do, typically I would rename this, but right? We could start with a Desaturate. So maybe you do, my hotkey is Control Shift U. I don't know if that's default or not, but that desaturates the image, just to be safe. I'm going to duplicate with Control J, rename. That's for me. You can do mine's Control R. You can double click on the layer and it will record that. And you can see over here on the left hand side it's starting to record our actions for us, right? So we say we want this to be like a, really we just want it to be like named Tileable, really it's just a copy for us to work on. So I'm going to say Tileable, or maybe we name it to, kind of like what we did earlier. So we say, let's do X channel. And you see I just renamed that twice. If I want to get rid of that, I could stop the layer, and I could go to that set current layer, and it says, renaming that layer to Tileable. I could just right click on that. I guess you just have to delete it, drag and drop that one chunk into the trash can, and then select the bottom so we know to continue off of that bottom and say record. And so I'm going to Control J duplicate again. See, we're back to recording. I'm going to rename Y. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a dummy layer. So I'm going to Control J, and I'm going to fill this with a default color. Say we fill it with black. So I'm going to hit D to reset my swatches, and then Alt backspace to fill this new layer. And then let's go ahead and rename it. Call it Dummy Normal, or maybe we just call it Tileable Normal. Now we got to go through that embossing process again. Now this time I'm not going to hide layers for you to see what I'm doing because we don't want it to record any of that. So what we're going to end up doing is using Alt open bracket and Alt close bracket to move up and down through the layers. And you'll see what I mean as I do this. So we're going to start with the Y channel because it's closest in the stack. So I'm going to say Alt close bracket. Whoops, that went the wrong way. So let's go back. Hit stop and then delete those because we want this to be a clean action. I'm going to say record again. I had to hit stop, delete them, and then record again. And so it's going to be Alt open bracket to move down one layer like that. And now I want to go to Filter, Stylize Emboss. This is the Y channel, so we're going to emboss it on 90. Come on, let's type it in. Emboss on 90. Say OK. And then I'm going to say Alt open bracket again, and that'll move us down to the X. We're going to go Filter, Stylize Emboss. Turn that to 0, say OK, and while I'm here on that X, I'm going to say Control A to select the whole canvas, Control C to copy that X channel, and then I'm going to hold Alt and go close bracket to move up the stack twice, and then we're going to select the green channel. I'm sorry, red channel. That's the one we copied. We're going to select the X. We selected X, so we're going to select the red channel here and paste into that. So I'm going to hit Control V to paste. Then I'm going to hit RGB to move back out to the top of the channels here. And then I'm going to do this again, except I'm going to go down to the Y. I'm going to say Alt open bracket. We're on that Y channel. We're going to hit Control A, Control C. And then Alt bracket up to go back up to that tileable dummy layer. I'm going to select the green channel, paste, Control V. And I'm going to leave that blue channel black like that. And so while we're here, let's go ahead and do our levels. On the green channel, I'm going to hit Control L. We're going to go to a 1.28 here. Say OK. I'm going to turn to the red channel, Control L, 128, 1.28, say OK. And then I'm going to hit that RGB up top. And I think I just want to leave it like that. I don't want to burn in or set this action to overlay for me because I kind of just want to view the result usually. But if you wanted, you could have it auto set the blending mode as well, and so it would auto set the overlay. Now what I think I am going to do is merge down to get rid of that X and Y copy underneath, right? So I'm going to hit Control E, Control E, and then let's rename it and just call it like normal underscore new, enter, and that'll be on normal map, right? And then I'm going to say stop on that action. And so let's do a test here. So I'm just going to hide that previous test. We're going to select that Paint Chips Tileable. Let's go over to our action, our newly created action here. I'm going to kind of close it off, and I'm going to hit the play button on it. And there it is, normal new. We have another normal map. And so if I wanted, I could create a new layer here, I could fill it with white. And I could paint just about anything on it, right? So say like, paint it with black here. Say JJ was here. And then if we run that new action, there we go, we have a normal off of it. Nice. Okay. Now the other thing I want to do is create an action for my cavity or my curvature here. So we're going to go over to our folder here, demo actions. We're going to hit the plus. Let's call this create underscore curvature. It's going to auto go into recording. I'm going to say stop so I can kind of clean up my stack here. And I want to run an action on this. I want to record us creating cavity here. So let's go back into record. We got to dissect this, so we got to be careful with how we approach here. So I'm going to say Control J. Oh, I'm doing that wrong already. Let's delete that. Turn on record. So we're going to go to the red channel. Control A, Control C. Then we'll say new layer and paste. And we'll do a rename. I'll call this red channel. So I'm going to say R. And then I'm going to alt bracket. Alt open bracket to go down. And then I'm going to select green channel. Control A, Control C. Let's go ahead and just say new layer and paste. Let's rename that layer, call it green. I'm not going to look at it because I know what we're doing here. No need to hide and check it. And so while I'm on the green channel, just to save on the number of actions that it's recording, let's go ahead and do our green channel here. So we're going to go emboss. And this is the green channel, so it's our positive information. I'm going to set that to -90. Say OK. And then I'm going to alt close bracket to go up a layer to the red channel. Then we're going to go filter, stylize, emboss. We'll set that to 180. I'm going to say OK. And this one I am going to set to overlay. We're going to do a blending mode. The quick hotkey for blending mode is Alt-Shift-O. Assuming I'm on the right. I need to be on the move tool if I'm going to do that. So I don't need it to remember to move to the move tool, so I think I'm just going to do it from here, do it to the stack. We're going to set it to overlay. And I could merge down, or I could Control A, Control Shift C, copy everything, and then that'll copy the whole canvas, what's visible, and then I'll paste. And we can name this one curvature underscore new. And then I'm going to go ahead and Control E merge down. Oh no, we can't do that. Alright, stop. Let's get rid of that last merge layer. And then I think we'll just leave it like that. I was hoping we could merge down and just clean those up, but we could delete those manually. So maybe I go back up, turn on record, and I might alt bracket down, alt bracket alt open bracket, I'll open bracket, and then I'll just hit backspace. Boom. And then backspace again. Boom. And then I'm going to end the action there. Now, if I close that, we're going to test it, make sure it's all working. And I want to do this on a new layer, a new effect. Well, let's just make a change maybe to our tileable here. Oh, and set my brush to overlay. There we go. Something like that. Let's go ahead and run our normal map. So we gotta create our normal map. Nice. There's our new normal. Depending on what program you're in, you might need to flip your green channel. I'm just gonna leave it as is for the moment. And I'm going to run our curvature here and hit play. And then there's our curvature. All right, fantastic. And look at just clean up all that excess there. I hope that was helpful, guys. No need to go and get extra programs to do this stuff for you. You can see that this stuff can be done directly in Photoshop. And now we have buttons basically to do this for us. You could totally set these to hotkeys and just do it on the fly. So great tip there. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Thanks for watching.